ODYV podcast.
Okay. Take one, and the only one. What's up, everybody? Welcome to your favorite podcast, the ODYV podcast, Old Dreams, Young Visions. I'm your host, Benny Fuego, and I'm, of course, joined by my wonderful honey bunny,
Ruthie-san.
Ruthie-san. Wait, did we say that I was going to say her name?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, so Ruthie-san.
Hello.
Beer.
Ava with the...
Yeah, that fog air horn.
Sound effects.
Yeah. I hope that you guys are enjoying the podcast that you're hearing and like the stuff that we're coming out with. And this is the first episode that we're doing on video. Mm-hmm. It's nothing fancy, but what we wanted to do was for like people who like consuming their content on YouTube, like watching video and stuff. This is for you.
Yeah, that's
so
me for
if
sure.
you are listening to us on the audio version, you can go to YouTube and Old Dreams, Young Visions, ODYV. I want to say I will include the link to the YouTube channel in the description because I don't exactly remember the YouTube channel name.
Oh my God.
But I will include it so that you can go over and watch the YouTube version if you want to. Like if you want to see Ruthie-san's facial reactions when I say stuff. Like now. So,
Right.
How was your week, Ruthie?
It was good. School. I was going to say work, but I don't work. School was good. School's been good.
Yeah. So like I actually just came back from a young adults retreat this past weekend. We had a tremendous time. I know I missed you too. Okay, I just have to say this, and I'm going to say it because I'm going to be honest. Like
What?
first day I felt super old there.
Oh, I know. You told me.
And it's not necessarily that I am old because I'm not. I'm not going to say my age, but you know, it's not that old. So
No.
the first day, okay, I'm 32. I'm going to be 32. But the first day, like, I just felt like, let's see, I'm married. I have 2 kids. There's not that many people here that are in both of those categories.
Mm-hmm.
And then what really made me feel old was just to see all the young kids. Well, they're not kids anymore, but to see all the young people around that were teenagers, like when I was working youth camp.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, to see a lot of the ones that, like, I had when they were, like, 12 or 13 or 14, and now they're at the young adult retreat, so they're, like, 20, was,
That's
like...
so weird.
It felt really weird. But it was a great weekend. We had a great time. For those of you who went to the young adult retreat, the Relevant Young Adult Ministry, it was awesome. Obviously, my voice is, like, a little hoarse and tired because it was just an amazing weekend. We had fun. We had... a tremendous like spiritual experience too, and so it was really, really cool. But I am glad to be home back with you and the kids.
Same.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So we did have a couple questions that our listeners sent in, and so we kind of wanted to answer both of those. And the first one is from Josue. He's a listener of the podcast, and he asked if we ever listen to our own podcast, like for fun, like to listen back.
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
I do.
Really? Why?
Yeah. Because I want to see... I want to see, like, what you put out, like, the final, like, edit or whatever, the final cut. But also just to kind of, like, catch things that we might have missed when we were recording, or maybe, like... I like, especially for me, because I'm very soft-spoken, like just talk louder, or maybe something that I said came off in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just, I don't know, I just kind of like to look back and, like, we're our what's that saying? Like, we're our worst critics or whatever.
Yeah.
So I kind of go back to, like...
Or like our hardest critics.
Yeah,
I think,
to kind of just be like, okay, where could I have gotten better, like what could I have done to make it maybe even more entertaining, or I don't know, but yeah, I like to. Do you?
You know what, I don't. It's very rare that like I go back and listen through a whole episode all the way through. I tend to just like go back and listen to the moments that I thought were either really funny or just really engaging. But I don't actually like sit through all the episodes and listen to them.
I don't either. I mean, I listen to parts.
And so, and honestly, a lot of times when I listen back, it's just to listen to the audio, see if the audio sounds good, see, you know, making sure that like everything is kind of working right. I'll take notes like, oh, you know, my voice needs to be more bass, or Ruthie's voice needs to be turned up just a little bit louder, or even just, you know what, I got to make sure that I let Ruthie know to hold the mic closer to her mouth or something, right? So I usually listen back for that type of stuff. But now that we're on video, it might be a little bit different. Yeah. And it's not because like I want necessarily like I want to see myself. I want to make sure that like, you know what I mean? Like when you do stuff on video, it's like you visually see everything, right? So if you're listening to just the audio, you just hear my voice. But now I'm on video, so you're looking at what I'm wearing. You're looking at where we're at, looking at how I talk with my hands a lot. Yeah, and then, looking to see our facial reactions. And so probably now that we're on video, we'll probably do that a little more. But the other question that we got was from Carlos, another listener, which is a great question. And I just want to preface the question by saying this is that this is part 1 of our adulting series that we're going to be talking about. So over the next few weeks, it's a 3-part podcast that we're doing. We're going to be tackling adulting topics, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But I just wanted to say that because this question fits perfectly. And the question from Carlos is, what are your financial goals, long-term or short-term and long-term? So what would you say? Because our answers are pretty much going to be the same, but still.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, short-term would be to get out of debt, which means like paying off credit cards, paying off our car, paying off my student loan. I think those are like the 3 things that we have. And then long term would be just to be able to like I don't want to say like be comfortable, but just like know that like I just don't want to be worried about money later. And what that means is like having like savings and having money for the kids to go to school or whatever it is that they want to do after they graduate high school, and like just have money saved for life events, or even start saving now for sure for our like retirement and stuff. It's never too early to start doing that. So for me, that's what our
So I mean, short term is, of course, I think the getting out of debt is like, for us, it's like we need to do this. We need to get this done, because the sooner we're able to get that done, the better shot we have at our long-term goals. And so, short term is getting out of debt, but also saving, saving and investing and all that. We at the young adult retreat, they kind of talked about how it is possible to pay off your debt and still save and still invest. I mean, like, sure, maybe you don't, pay off your debt as soon as you could, but you're still paying it off. So there's a couple of ways to do that. But I mean, long term, I mean, I would love to be able to retire at the age I'm supposed to retire at, and on top of that, like, have a home that is ours. And there's, the boys can feel like we have, I don't know about paying, because college is expensive, but but that we would have at least enough that they can feel supported to do whatever it is they want to do, whether go to college or trade school or whatever, and they feel like, hey, you know what, mom and dad, they can support me with something. And so I think that's kind of a dream and goal for every parent, really. So but that's a great question. And we're going to tackle finance coming up in a future episode, possibly in the adulting series that we're on. So about this whole subject of adulting, it kind of has a negative connotation to it, because nowadays I feel like the word adulting is like, oh, I gotta adult, like, kind of like when you wake up in the morning, it's like, oh, I gotta go to work, but it's become this thing where it's like young people avoid adulting. They try to find ways to avoid it completely. And if you don't know what adulting means, in the Urban Dictionary, it basically defines it as to do grown-up things and hold responsibilities, such as a 9-to-5 job, a mortgage or rent, a car payment, anything else that makes one think of grown-ups. So nowadays, like, young people want to avoid anything that reminds them of grown-ups. And like, I feel like, number one, stop. Because you're like stopping
it's coming to get
the natural
regardless.
Progression, right? The basically the progression that God created, that when you're born, you're a child, and as you grow and you mature,
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing you're doing with trying to avoid adulting is harming yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, I mean, that's really like a deep thing, but I just want to put that out there that no, like, I don't want this to seem like, oh, we're glorifying adulting, like we're supporting people who are avoiding adulting. These next few podcast episodes is to basically talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, talk about the things that can be stressful, but also talk about the good things that it brings to somebody's life. Because if there's anybody that knows about adulting, it's the both of us who are definitely in that season.
30-year-olds.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to like not have to work, and I would love to like, you know, hang out with friends every night and not have to go to bed early. But the truth of the matter is like I got responsibilities and they got to get done. If I don't get them done, I'm just hurting myself and my family. So, but today we're just going to address a couple of questions, and they're pretty like deep, but I feel like it's a good way to set this series off. So what are those couple questions, Ruthie?
So the first one is, am I on the right path in life? And the second one, which kind of ties in well with that, is, am I settling?
So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
What kind of things like cause somebody to ask themselves, am I on the right path in life? Like, what are some things that like drive somebody to even ask themselves that question?
The first thing that comes into my mind is, like, for example, my freshman, even sophomore year in college. Like, I know that college people can change their careers multiple times even. Like, I know when I first went in, I wanted to be a nurse, and then my counselor said that that was too hard to pick something else. I was like, okay, so I'll choose. I didn't know what I wanted for like a good like 2 semesters, and then after taking up a couple of different classes, that was when I decided like, okay, I found the career that I want to like do. But then even when I was doing that, like, you see all these other kids doing all these other careers, and you're like, and you think that like, is this for me? Is this really what I'm gonna, be doing for the rest of my life?
Right.
Or even like, even if you don't go to college, if you're working at Target, it's like, where is my life going? What am I doing? Like, where am I supposed to be headed right now? So that's what I think about with that question.
Yeah, like I think, it's funny because I feel like I'll speak for myself. Like, I feel like there's plenty of times that I'm asking myself that question. Like, am I on the right path here?
Even now, like,
and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, I feel like I'm like, I do that. And it's not so much like, am I right? Like, as far as, which it can, right? Like, somebody's faith cannot have, it can force them to ask themselves that question or bring that question in their life. Like, am I on the right path? Am I doing the right thing? Am I believing in the right things? And for me, a lot of times when I ask myself this question, it comes with my career, my job. So like, I've done multiple things. I've worked at Starbucks. I've worked at Chuck E. Cheese. I've worked I've done construction. I've done working in a clinic, like dental reception. I've done working at guitars in a manufacturing company. I've worked with ukuleles, and now I'm working at a dealership. So I pretty much have done it, almost all of it. And I didn't go to college. I did 2 semesters at a JC, and then I was out. Like, I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. And so for me, like, I go from job to job sometimes, and it doesn't feel like I'm really taking anything with me. But at the same time, like, I feel that even though I don't necessarily have a set career in something, like, God has always been faithful in providing with what I need when I need it, regardless of the job that I'm at. You know what I mean? So, but for me, I ask myself this question a lot, like, when it comes to the career, like, am I on the right path? And then obviously the other question is, am I settling? So like, when I was working at the clinic as a dental receptionist, and then I moved into dental billing, at the time I was like 22, roughly, maybe even younger. It's like, what the heck? Like, I'm young. What am I doing here? Working an office job doing this. Like, what am I doing? And the job was great. It paid well, obviously great benefits. But I left because I was like, no, I'm young. I need to be outside. So that's when I went to go work construction.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I worked construction after that clinic job because I felt like I'm young. I need to be outside, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then after that job, I ended up finding that ukulele job, and I was there for like 7 years, like going up the chain, becoming a supervisor.
And even during those years, there I remember having conversations with you, being like,
I don't know if I don't do this.
Yeah, and then like obviously we need to pay bills, so then that's where that question came in. It's like, okay, well then, am I just gonna stay here then because we have to pay bills, or am I staying here because I think I like it, but I'm not sure? So like,
and I feel like what happens is like we look like, as all of us, we're just so like focused on what's happening right in front of us that we don't look at the big picture.
Right. Because I feel like I definitely settled with my degree, with my what I studied, just because it was easy at the time. I had already like done a lot of the classes for that specific degree, so I was like, well, I might as well just do it, but I'm not even using it.
And you know what's funny is like you're sitting here and you're saying, man, I settled with my degree.
Yeah.
And there's other people that are like, man, I wish I had a degree. I wish I went after that. But you did it. You accomplished it. You have the degree. And you're like, man, I settled with that. And it's like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, as humans, we're never happy with what we have.
Yeah.
And that's what, like, that question, like, am I on the right path? Am I settling? Like, because we're never happy with what we have and what we accomplish. And that's the thing, is that we overlook and we forget and we just look at what's in front of us. And it's like, right now, it's like, I'm not happy. So I'm just going to ask myself, am I settling? Am I on the right? It's like, whoa. But hang on a second. You went to school. You graduated. You have a degree. You've had great jobs, and sure, you're not working in the field that you thought you'd be working, but you're now venturing into another field, and you're really excited about it. And then on top of that, you're going to be able to go on that job and say, I have my degree, which it can kind of work together. And even more so, like the fact that we're Christians and we believe that God works all things together. Like, who's to say, like, 2 years down the road, you don't get some, like, awesome job that you have the degree, and then now you have this, like, actual training, like. So, but what I'm saying, like, and it's great that you brought that up, because I feel like that's kind of, and me too, right? Like, in the season that we're in, when we're in that season, whatever it may be, we're always like, am I settling? I don't know. Like, I don't know if I feel like I settled with this, like for me, when I was working the job at the clinic, it was just doing this all day. Right. So a couple of weeks ago, right, at the dealership, when I'm entering parts and stuff, and I'm just working on the computer, and I'm just like, somebody comes up to me, one of the other guys that works with me in the parts department, and he's like, man, you type really fast. How do you type so fast? And I was like, And I'm sitting there just like, Gee.
You do type fast.
Like this, like just thinking, I'm just typing away. I'm like, you know what? I used to work at a clinic. Hang on a second.
That's funny.
I used to work at a clinic, and I would literally type all day, so I don't have to look down. Oh, enter. You know what I mean? Like, and it made me think, like, okay, well, at least I walked away with something from that clinic job that could help me forward. You know what I mean? But and somebody sent me a message today, and they were basically telling me to appreciate all the seasons that God has me in, that God put me through. And at the end, he says, God doesn't waste a thing. He doesn't waste anything. Yeah. So in those seasons where you're like, am I settling? Am I on the right path? Like, even if it doesn't feel like it's a good thing, or even if it doesn't feel like you're getting something out of it, like, God is not going to let it go to waste.
Maybe, but it might come in handy later.
It will come in handy later. Like, even just the experience of, like, I can say that I worked at Chuck E. Cheese and I was under the mask and did the dance. How that will benefit me in the future, I don't know. but I will forever be able to say that I did that. And the experience of being able to make...
You were Chucky?
Everybody was.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Everybody was. So, I mean, like, and that's what I'm saying, like, the experience of being able to make kids feel happy. I don't know. That may come down the line, you know, where I don't know. I mean, I'm just pulling for it, but you know what I mean? Like, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to have to, or it's not a bad thing that you ask yourself, am I settling? Am I on the right path? I feel like we do also need to be transparent with ourselves and being able to look at where we're at and see if we are in the right place. Because sometimes we're not. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's important to ask yourself those questions. But I also feel that it's important to ask yourself those questions, like it's also important to not be alone and ask yourself those questions.
Yes. Because you can just go into a deep hole, or what is it called? Like a black hole, or what do you say? Like when you you just think too much and then you give yourself anxiety, right. And then you end up on a whole other page.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, you know, and we drive ourselves crazy. And that's the thing about adulting, is that I find is that many times, like, young adults are giving themselves anxiety, like, just, oh my gosh, I got to do this, and I got to do that, and I got to do this, and that. Am I settling? Am I on the right path? I don't know. My mom says I should be here, but I'm really only right here. And we start to, like, measure ourselves up to what people say where we're supposed to be. But the reality is, like, you're going to be where you're going to be. And, you know, you don't have most times you don't have control of that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have control of where you're at. Like, sure, I can look back and say, man, I should have stuck in junior college and at least got, you know, my general ed there. Like, and yeah, I should have, but I didn't. So now what? What am I going to do now? You know, I got to find a way to make a living. Got to find a way to be, you know, a citizen that is doing good and giving back and has value, you know. So, like, you can always look back and say, man, you know, I settled with this and I didn't do that, and that was a mistake. But again, God never wastes a thing. And so it's important to always, like, don't worry about what happened back then and start focusing on what's going on right now, and then how you can go ahead and move forward. What do you think? Anything else you want to add to that? Mm-mm. What other ways do you think people ask if they're settling?
In relationships.
Oh, we're not going to go there today. We're not going to get into relationships today. But
I mean, that it can be anything: relationships, work, school.
Yeah.
Hobbies. Like, I feel like anything.
It's definitely that what they call it FOMO, like fear of missing out, you know, like, because as kids we have, like, oh, when I grow up I'm going to do this. And then when we get old enough and we start doing things and we don't do that, it's like, man, I didn't reach that, or it's not exactly how I thought. And one of the problems with social media is we go on social media and everybody's giving you, like, the best moments of their life. Everyone is. Mm-hmm. Everyone's giving you the best moments in your life, and you start to, like, you know, compare your best moments to their best moments. It's like, man, they're doing this. Man, they went to Rome. They went to Italy. Man, they went skydiving. Man, they got those shoes. Like, yeah. I can barely afford a pair of Vans or something. You know what I mean? Like, and we start to, like, compare, and then it becomes this fear, like you're missing out on something, like you did something wrong. And then it's like, man, am I settling? Am I in the right path? Am I even in the right path? Because it doesn't look like my life even matches up with theirs. Mm-hmm. But again, it becomes this overbearing thing. And again, I think it's okay to ask yourselves these questions, but you got to have some perspective too.
Right.
You know, and look at where you're at, where you're going, and then also, like, where the things that you've been in and gone through, and what God is doing too in your life. So again, these are just, like, two questions that we wanted to tackle. It's a lot. I mean, it really is. We wanted to tackle adulting because we really felt like it'd be good to talk about something that a lot of young adults can relate to, that we can relate to, because we're married and we have 2 kids. I have a full-time job right now, just to give people some context. I have a full-time job right now. I'm the only one working right now because Ruthie is attending. Is it a trade school? It's a trade school, right? Because you're learning a trade. So Ruthie's going to trade school for medical assisting. She's almost done. And unfortunately, right now we can't afford to live on our own. That's just. I mean, this is California.
Yeah.
You can't really. So right now we're living with family, and that's. I think that's okay, because we're trying to set our family up so that we could be better off. Like we said, our financial goals, right? And so, if there's anyone that understands adulting right now, it's us, because we're going through it. That's what we're doing right now. But I don't want you to think about adulting in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an important thing. So, yeah, don't. Adulting is a natural thing that's gonna happen. Can you avoid it, babe?
No, I mean it sucks, but it
does. It does.
It's also pretty good.
I mean, it does suck.
Yeah,
it does. I'm not here trying to sugarcoat it. Like, yeah, it's actually not that bad. It sucks some days.
Yeah, it does suck a lot of days.
But on the days that like it's really like gratifying, like, man, I did that today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, just even like being able to have your own place, like that's pretty nice. Like, you know, yeah, you have to pay rent and stuff, but like, and now that we live with family, like that's something that we can definitely like have a huge appreciation for now, because it's like, oh, like, you know, I remember having like our condo in San Diego, you know, like, it's crazy to, and then like we think something that we've been kind of comparing now is like we've been looking at places to rent here in this small town, and it's like, man, for the money that we were paying over there, like we can get a house here like to rent, you know, with a backyard and like 3 rooms and like all this stuff. So it's like, it's just interesting. Like obviously there's, you know, like a cool side to like being an adult is to like being able to do things on your own and having that like having the opportunity to like travel and stuff if you can, and if you're not married, like all of the perks that brings of like doing things as a single person. And, you know, so
I mean, that's a big one, like the appreciation of having your own place. Like you don't, like, just think about even the first apartment that we got, like we were like, oh, this is cool, and then we went to San Diego and we got even a nicer place, like, wow, this is awesome. And then we're living with family. And this is not the first time we've had to move back in with family, but it makes you really appreciate those things. And again, it's all about perspective, right? So in the moment, the apartment's like, yeah, this is a nice place, you know, but we're making money, we can get it. And then now it's like, man, you know what I mean? Like, we got to really appreciate those things. You get perspective, right? So like, so I hope that this helps. And as I said that, I just realized that the video just actually stopped. So for those of you listening on the audio podcast, thinking about, oh, I want to go over and watch the whole entire thing, I'm going to tell you right now that the video cuts out about almost to the end. So, but still,
you almost made it.
But go watch the video though. It's actually kind of cool, different perspective. What do you think, babe? So, but next week we're going to cover a couple other questions. We're going to be covering the questions we're answering next week and talking about next week is, am I making my parents proud? That's a heavy question.
That is heavy.
What's the other question we're going to talk about, babe?
The other one is my significant other the one?
Ooh, the one.
Ooh, that's scary.
That is scary. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. You can support us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/ODYV. We're going to be uploading some video content very soon exclusively for our Patreon subscribers. So we are
the Fuego Sods coming back?
The Fuego Sods are going to be coming back exclusively
Yay.
for Patreon subscribers who are contributing $10 a month.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you're giving $10 a month right now, you're going to be getting a new, at least one episode of the Fuegasodes every month. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of work to like do those things, but I am bringing them back. And in case you don't know what the Fuegasodes is this week, for all of the Patreon subscribers, I am going to upload an older version of the Fuegasodes, so everybody gets a feel of what to expect. So I'm gonna upload one of those this week, and then for the $10 a month, you're gonna get a new Fuegasodes once a month, plus other stuff that we're working on too. So
cool.
Thank you guys so much for listening. You can follow me on social media at Benny Fuego.
And me at Ruthie-san.
And you can also follow the podcast at ODYV Digital. But most of the stuff you'll find on our individual pages, so you can go there. Thank you guys so much for listening. We hope that this helps you guys. And don't sweat adulting. It's part of life. And if we can do it, you can do it. Until next time, I'll catch you later. I'm Benny Fuego.
I'm Ruthie-san.
See you guys next week.
Pay your bills.